everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Music Podcast, where I have Mr. Rachel Bolan with me today. Rachel is the longtime original bass player and co-founder for Skid Row, of course. Skid Row formed in '86 and has since gone on to sell more than 20 million records worldwide. Band's had two top 10 albums, 8 top 40 hits. The band has a new lead singer in Erik Gronwall. It's set to release a brand new record called The Gang's All Here on October 14th. Rachel, man, it is an honor to have you, bud.
Hi, man. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Absolutely, man. I always see every band, when you lose a singer or a big key member, you always get it's not the same. It's not Skid Row without whoever, or you get that with every band. I don't see that anymore, man. I haven't seen one comment where people aren't accepting Erik Gronwall, man. He is just such a great fit for this band, man. It's got to feel good.
It feels great. And I haven't seen much. I mean, there's going to be some people, just the purists that just can't deal with change, which is fine. That's their hang up, not mine. Had I not dealt with change, I wouldn't have listened to Back in Black. You know what I mean?
There you go.
But yeah, Erik is, he's a game changer, man. It's such a perfect fit. And I tell a lot of people we're just waiting for him to graduate high school.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? That's cool.
But he has the same just outlook on, we're all like-minded. He has the same outlook on things, even probably more positive than we are. But and I'm saying that jokingly, but he's a very talented guy. He fits the band perfectly from a musical standpoint. And just as a dude, he's so much fun to hang out with. He has the same stupid sense of humor that the rest of us have. And it was seamless. And it's been so much fun so far. And it seems like we've been in the band for over a decade, and it hasn't even been like a year yet.
That's great, man. It's just such great news. And I think about the band and you guys forming in '86, towards the end of the '80s, into the Seattle era of rock and roll, you guys succeeded in that where a lot of bands fell at that time, and that you were really one of the few of that era of, I don't want to say hair metal, because that's not how I see it, but that LA scene where that was happening, it just worked for you. What do you think that is? Why does Skid Row stand up in that? When things started changing, you guys were still successful.
There's just no quit in this band, never has been. And, there were definitely dark times. And there was a time where we were just like, okay, we're done. But in 2000, we got back together. But it's just before Erik and Rob joined the band, when it was Scotty, Snake, and myself, there was never any doubt in our mind that we were, or any thought, I should say, in our mind that we were going to give it all up for good. Like I said, we were on hiatus for about 4 years. And at that point, I could say that we were toying with the idea of just, forget it, past is our past. But
sure.
I think we were kidding ourselves, because there were, we didn't want our songs just to end up in like rock and roll obscurity somewhere. And we just love creating music together. And then as years went on, and plus we're brothers, like I don't say that as just like a casual thing. We really are closer to each other. We've been around each other more than we've been around our own families and our own spouse and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things. And we just we need to create. We love to create. We love to play live. So it was just one of those things where it's like, what are we doing? And then when Rob Hammersmith came into the fold, it took Scotty Snake and myself up a level from just musical standpoint. Yeah, like stuff that we may have been getting like, okay, yeah, all right, let's do this song again. All of a sudden it's like, oh wow, now we got a guy that is really laying into it. So that brought us up. And then when Erik joined the band, all four of us have brought the energy of the four of us up. And now this is where we're at. And it feels so damn good, dude. I can't even describe it. It's just like the music that's coming out of us, how proud we are of this new record and the singles. And just, man, when we're off the road for more than a week, we're all texting each other just like constantly. Hey man, I'll see you in 4 days, 3 days, that type of stuff. It's just great having that kind of camaraderie again.
Yeah, man, it's sure. And it's great, out here watching it happen, listening to these tunes, man. The intensity, that level of intensity is there. Thank you. It's not the same with Erik in the band. I think that just elevated everything.
I believe so.
It really, really did. I listen to these songs and they feel fresh and new and exciting. Rebirth, for sure, is the word that comes to mind. Were these the songs that were written before Erik signed on as the singer?
Yes.
United World Rebellion Chapter 3. Are those songs?
Some of them are. Most of them, I mean, they were all written before Erik came into the fold, but some of them have been around quite a long time. Subtract 2 years because of COVID and stuff like that, so they've been around a little longer. But we did record a bunch, and then we were like, well, we need more songs, we need better songs. And then fast forward to having dinner with Nick Raskulinecz and him saying, let's make a Skid Row record. And me saying, don't play with a man's emotions, dude. He's my friend, but I am a huge fan of his work. And a lot of the bands that he produced are just like some of my favorite bands. So then, we made the change, and here's Erik Gronwall, and he comes in and just starts knocking the songs like down one by one, boom, 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 and recording remotely over in Sweden because just COVID regulations and stuff. And plus he was ill for a while, so he has to be really careful on traveling at that point. So and every time a song came back, the four of us were just like, five of us, Nick included, were just like doing backflips. We're like, this is awesome. This is what we need. And we were super happy. And Nick was doing backflips. He was just like, this is the kind of singer I love to work with. And he's worked with some pretty heavy duty singers.
No doubt. I was going to say, when he's doing backflips, it's good. He's seen a lot of good stuff for sure. Any tracks that didn't make it, that you got hanging out maybe for another album, cutting room floor kind of stuff?
Yeah, there is a couple that we're going to revisit. Actually, we've been writing already for the next record, and which is something that this band has never done that quickly. But now Erik is so creative, and his brain never stops. So his work ethic is a lot like ours. And so we actually revisited a song that we recorded for this record, and he did the vocals, and we're like, okay, this is pretty damn good. And then we have like three more written, whether they make the record or not, who knows. We just want to write a pile of them like every band does. But and then there's some that we recorded a while ago that we're going to try again with Erik, and just see if they work. Sometimes I have this weird thing in my mind that, well, if it doesn't work the first time, it's never going to work again. But I know I'm wrong by saying that, and I should open my mind to it. But it's just one of those things. I have to let a few years go by before like listening to it again, like almost forget about the song at some point,
Hey, whatever your formula is, it works, man.
Yeah, right.
You got some great songs out there for sure.
Thank you.
Is he a writer? We know a little bit about Erik, but getting in there and writing songs, because he didn't write any of these, right? They were ready for him. Is he a writer? Is he a guy?
He is. He is actually one of the songs that I was talking about. It was him, myself, and Snake. And yeah, he is. And he's the first singer we ever had that actually plays guitar. And I just found out recently that he played piano, because I walked in the dressing room and he was playing piano. I'm like, he's one of those guys that you leave him in the room, even if he's with a harp, say a gigantic harp, and he's in the room for 25 minutes. You come back later, he's playing Flight of the Bumblebee. Right, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he's just one of those guys. And so, yeah, he's a very talented dude. And it's cool because, you know, we're going to, it's just cool to create with another person, you know, and that cool. From an outside perspective, now that's on the inside. So it's going to be great, man. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, so are we out here for sure. Now you have Nick Raskulinecz producing the record, which is a wonderful thing. Now you've had Michael Wagner, you've had Bob Rock, you know, you've had some really high profile guys, even Steven Hagler, you know, not a small name.
Right. Excuse me.
What was the intention of the record, and you know, what made you choose Nick to get you there?
Well, you know, Nick, like I said, we were eating dinner one night, went out to dinner, his wife and mine, and we were sitting there, and he just said, "Hey, let's do a Skid Row record." And so once I knew he was serious, I was like, "Cool, I'll come over." He lives not far from here. I said, "I'll come over with what we have demoed and everything, and see what you like." And he listened to it, and Nick is above everything else so honest, and just like, you want his opinion, you're going to get his opinion. If you don't want it, then don't ask him for it, which is great. And I mean, I'm from New Jersey. It's like, that's all we know, you know? and so he just said, "Well, this one's cool. That one doesn't sound like Skid Row." And man, you really have to check your ego, because you're like, especially when we were in pre-production, because, you know, we'd come in with a song that we thought is like, man, this is it. This is the goods. And
yeah, they're your kids, right? You know, those songs.
Yeah, exactly. And
your kid is ugly isn't a good thing.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. So he'd be like, it doesn't sound like Skid Row. What else you got? And I'd be like, does it sound like Skid Row, man? Skid Row, you know, but he's been right on every call that he's made. And the coolest thing about it is that he made us focus, and he helped us retrace our steps, which is really hard to do when you're, you know, almost 40 years into a career.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Man, you write, like, just what were you thinking when you wrote, like, you know, Psycho Love, or when you wrote I Remember You, or whatever?" I'm just throwing songs out there. Right. And he goes, "Think of that kid that did that, you know?" And so it was really hard, man, because it's just like our writing changed slightly, our playing style changed over the years. It's just like, you just can't help it, you know. Sure, you grow a little bit, but sometimes you grow too much and too far from your roots. So he said something in pre-production that I think a light bulb went off in all of our heads. He goes, "You guys need to sound more Skid Row, not more like Skid Row, more Skid Row." And right there, it was just like an epiphany. I was just like, "Oh, okay." And it's like, because you want to grow, and you as speaking for myself, it's just like, okay, I don't want to keep doing the same thing a million times. I want my style to change. I want to grow, but you can grow and have a style. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he would push us. He'd push every one of us on whatever we were doing. And it brought the best out of us, and brought our old way of thinking out. It's like, well, how would you approach that bass line if, you know, you were 24 again? I'd be like, I wouldn't worry about it so much. He's like, "Thank you." You know what I mean? He's like, just, and yeah, he had a lot to do with having us focus. He was a fan before he was a producer, which really helped the situation. Sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I would love to produce a Kiss record because I know what Kiss I want to hear.
Right.
You know, that was Nick's standpoint.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the Sabbath album. the most recent with Rick Rubin. You know, he
Yeah.
was a Sabbath fan. He wanted to go back to the debut album,
Yeah.
and that darkness, and that album had that. So
Yeah.
it seems like the
That's
same
exactly
kind
the
of
same. Yep.
situation. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of producer is Nick? You get, I think you got two kinds, a hands-on sixth member of the band who's gonna, transpose things and move things around and have you do another verse and, kind of write with you, if you will. And then you have a dial turning guy who's just gonna let you do your thing, and, make it sound right and all that. What kind of guy is Nick?
Nick is an old school sixth member of the band. Let's tear this apart, and we have the bones, we have the foundation. Let's build this, like, deconstruct and rebuild if it needs it. Some songs needed it, some songs didn't, but I'm thinking about it now, it makes me smile because he knew us better than we did at that point. And he's cool. He's like, there's a song called Not Dead Yet. And I'll never forget coming out of the solo in pre-production, we just went straight back into a verse. And he's like, it's not spectacular enough for Skid Row. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, think of a few of your songs, man. Just think of what you do and this. And so we're like, all right, let's try this. Let's try that. And it came out like that. And that's the kind of producer he is, who he doesn't, we've worked with guys that are hands-on before, and we worked with guys that were collecting a paycheck, and we worked with, the knob turners, and then guys that just didn't care, it's just like, whatever. And some guys that were just downright mean, that would just say mean stuff to you. And you're just like, well, this is no fun.
Right.
I could go get yelled at by a boss. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought I was my own boss. But with Nick, he gives you constructive criticism, and and like I said, his honesty is just like, I remember bringing the song in and I'm like, man, this sounds like it could be on the first album. And I played it for him. He's like, what else you got? Just like that. And I was like, you don't think this sounds like, I forget what song. I go, you don't think it has the same vibe? He goes, no, not at all. What else you got? That was it. Wow. Never to be heard from again.
Well, that's cool too. Yeah. I mean, well, you're going to get a good record that way,
Exactly.
It's not mediocre in any way. I mean, I haven't heard the whole thing, but I know that from, the way you're telling me Nick is, and, what you guys were going for sure. Yeah. Was there ever a point now, Erik comes in and he's a big fan of, the classic era, the Sebastian era, if you will. Mm-hmm. He's going to model him. So he's going to have those nuances because he's covering Sebastian when he does the old stuff. Was there ever a point in the recording process where you kind of heard him and said, do Erik, not Sebastian so much?
No, because he did Erik through the whole I mean, he grew up his favorite bands were Skid Row, AC/DC, Sammy Hagar, and a few others as far as rock goes. So he would draw off his influences on certain songs, or like one of Snaker, I would say, hey man, why don't you take a Brian Johnson approach on this or something like that. Right. And we knew damn well it was going to sound like Erik, and it wasn't. He knows like what we mean, like a vibe, like just an approach to something. It's like, how would he attack it? But everything is all Erik. We wanted to make sure he knew that too. We said, just do your thing, do what you do. Don't try to. And I don't think it was ever in his head to mimic anyone, but we wanted to like make that point clear. It's like, don't try to be anybody. Don't try to be us from the past. Don't whatever. And it was always 100% him.
Yeah, I mean, that had to be a thought in your head, before you actually get him in there and recording. Is like, is he going to do his version of Sebastian?
Honestly, I wasn't worried about it because of listening to him with Heat. Yeah, I was just like, obviously this guy is a phenomenal vocalist, and he definitely has his own style. He does our old catalog really well, and you know, he hits every note and then some. And so, you know, he's a 35-year-old guy singing what a 19-year-old sang on the first record, and that's pretty impressive, man.
It really is, no doubt.
Yeah, so it you know, it's always been him, and we never had any idea, we never had any feeling that he would really try to mimic anyone.
That's
So,
cool. That's
and when he unleashed some of the stuff, we just sent him a few songs. Like, it was almost like we were sneaking an audition in there.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy. He knew exactly what we were doing. And he sent them back, and we all got on a Zoom, and we're like, wow, this is amazing. This is just a quick pass at the song. So
wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
He's all Erik all the time, for sure.
That's cool. Now, you know, I think about that's earlier Skid Row stuff, and you know, love their debut. Absolutely, Slave to the Grind. I think one of the best records ever made in the genre, for sure.
Thank you.
But I love Subhuman Race as well. A completely different record. For me, as I listen to it, it's hardcore heavy. Not that Slave to the Grind isn't, but there's a certain something, there's a crunch to that record that's maybe not Skid Row. You know,
Yeah.
Nick might have said that's not Skid Row. But I like that record. Now I think of Erik's voice with it, and you know, adapting him to those. He's a versatile guy. Have you run him through all of that?
We were talking about a couple songs to start throwing in the set, because Erik really wants to represent at least one song. You know, there's certain songs that we absolutely have to do at the show. We call them the big five, right? So we got the big five, and then other songs that we want to do. Now we have 3 singles out, so that'll be there. But he would like to do at least one song from everything that Skid Row has put out, including the EPs. Great. And you know, Thick Skin and Revolutions Per Minute. But yeah, it's funny because we were just discussing a couple songs off of Subhuman.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, I mean, stuff like, you know, Beat Yourself Blind, it's like,
that was one of them.
It's like, wow, you know, I mean, it's such a heavy tune.
Yeah, that's a fun one to play live too.
I bet, man. I'd love to hear it. And then, you know, I just saw the Scorps. You're about to do some shows, right? With Scorps.
We already did them.
Oh, you did those in Vegas.
That was actually Erik's first show. We met Erik on a Tuesday, rehearsed Wednesday and Thursday, took Friday off, and then started with the Scorps on Saturday. It was crazy, man. Yeah, so now, we did that already. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know, I just got a chance to see them. I'm 70s guy. You know, I had 2 older brothers, so I kind of, you know, 80s kid, but grew up with that 70s music. I love that 70s Scorps. Their show, they don't play anything off of the first 5 records. You know, In Trance and all that, and Virgin Killer. Those are some of my favorite records of all time. So I love when a band, Def Leppard, kind of the same thing. They don't really touch the first 2 records. So, and those are some of my favorites. So, you know, with him wanting to do a song off of each record, because there are people that love the Thick Skin record, who love those EPs, you know, and it has a Skid Row name on it, you know, it's what you've done. Let's explore it. And that's great. I love that concept. I mean, I
love that too. And the fact that, you know, he brought, when I was, there's a song on Revolutions Per Minute called See You Around. And those records were made a long time ago, you know, and that's when I found out he knew how to play piano, because I walked in the dressing room and he was playing that song and singing it on piano. And I was like, all right, So I guess you're saying you want to do that song. He goes, I really do.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, I mean, some of the crowd will get lost. Not everybody was
Yeah.
digging that record.
Yeah.
Not like the classic stuff, of course.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But there's going to be those people out there who are going to, just can't believe their ears and eyes that you're playing the stuff, and they're going to never forget it. And that's pretty special for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
What inspires you to write? I'm watching last night, of course, I'm a Game of Thrones guy. I love the show. I'm watching it and I'm thinking, wow, this would be really inspiring as a songwriter, the dragons and things like that. If you're a deal guy kind of thing,
Right.
But, I mean, that's not a Skid Row. Thanks so much. Is there, something that inspires you to write? Is it a time of day or anything in particular that, because I mean, you're an amazing writer.
Oh, thank you.
With you and Snake get together, man, it's crazy. What inspires you to write?
Man, it could be anything. Honestly, I don't, it seems like my brain is always just sucking in information and eventually it turns into a song. Like the new single Time Bomb. What inspired me to actually get up into my studio and just sit down and write, I was watching the Beatles, that documentary, that really long one, that they cut down. It was like 60 hours. They cut down to 6 hours or something like that.
Crazy.
And I was like, just watching them work in a room together and write. I'm like, I got to go upstairs and write. I just feel like the creative blood was flowing. And then I sat in my studio and just started writing. And then all of a sudden the lyrics started coming to me. And so it's just stuff like that. And I mean, the song is about dealing, like, just hanging on to your sanity, but that had nothing to do with the Beatles. It was just the Beatles got the creative flowing, and then I went up and wrote it. And then, like, with Snake and I, we'll get together and we'll just talk for like maybe an hour, sometimes more. And then, hey, I got this riff, start messing around with it. And then it just, do you have an idea? Subject matter? No, not really. Let's just keep messing with it. And it just kind of, it's like a very natural progression when we do write, unless one of us has like, dude, I got this idea for a song. It's about blah, 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 blah. You got any riffs and stuff like that. So we don't really have a set formula to the way we write, but
it works.
Yeah. And we're not going to try and change it. That's for sure.
Please don't. Yeah. It's great. I mean, it's so cool that you can just, off the cuff, just get this stuff done. It's pretty great. Have you ever thought about a solo record? Even, I mean, there's a writer like yourself constantly creating, and I would imagine you're a music fan. So you listen to a lot of things, probably. That's usually how somebody like yourself is going to listen. Do you ever think about doing something that's not Skid Row? Is there a genre that you've wanted to touch on and maybe do your own thing?
Yeah, I'm a punk rock fan, and I would love to do like, and I got a pile of songs that they're just too punk for Skid Row to play. Right. And so I got a pile of songs that maybe one day, but now that this train is rolling, I'm not even going to go near it, but eventually someday, maybe if we take a break in a few years, I'll do something. But yeah, I love punk rock. I love like new wave and stuff like that, and old glam stuff. And so maybe someday. Yeah. Not now, though.
Yeah, no, definitely not, man. Yeah, for sure. A couple of years ago, I read something. You changed Lizzie Hale's showering life forever. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Or good. Dirty Rocker Soap Company. Tell me about it, man. You still got it? Is it something you?
Oh, yeah, it's still cranking. Yeah. That's so funny. When that came out, I told Lizzie, I go, that the Wire is going to have a field day with this comment. She's like a little sister to me, man.
That's cool.
So yeah, Joe actually texted me, goes, "You bastard." But anyway, yeah, so it was, I started, I had the idea for the company a while ago, pre-pandemic. And I'm like, man, every artist seems to have a hot sauce, a coffee, a beer, a vodka, a whiskey, whatever. What about soap? Because my friend who makes some of my soaps that I sell, she makes soaps. She has her own company, same thing, boutique company. And she gave me a bar, and I took it out on the road, and I was like, this is amazing. And then I was like, the whole idea started. I'm like, I got to make this happen. I just need the time. Well, 2020 gave me a whole lot of time.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But that was, not to interrupt you, that's something you don't think about in the rock star lifestyle, is you're in a hotel a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that is shit. I mean, that is,
yeah, dude.
you can't get it off your skin, man. That shit is
I know.
nasty.
A lot of times I end up itchy. You know what I mean? From the soap. So I'm sorry, I cut you off. You were saying something.
No, yeah. That was just my point, is, that's something we don't think about as fans, is, you got to bathe and you got to use soap here. So yeah, I mean, go ahead. And, I mean, that's something you developed and took a bar with you on the road. And
yeah. And then between her, my girlfriend, and myself, we formulated a few different scents. It started out as 4, and I built a website. I was like, well, I'm just going to build it myself. And I built it, and I put the stuff up, and it sold out in a few hours. So I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's just, the newness of it. And now, we're almost, 2.5 years later, and now we have 12 different scents.
Awesome.
We have some retail outlets that are carrying it. And, we sell it mainly in the United States. We sell it outside to some countries, but the shipping is just too crazy expensive. So people are like, can you send it for free? And I was like, there is no free sending it.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. It's just another way to be creative, and it's really cool connecting with, of course, a lot of fans of the band, and then there's just fans of the soap that may or may not know the band, and it's just really cool. And then watching people be creative with their posts of what they do with the soap, like how they display it in their house and stuff like that. It's just, it's a lot of fun, and it's turned into a business,
That's cool.
That was just an idea, and there's nothing cooler than that when you have an idea and you see it just become a reality,
Yeah, it's a homegrown, old fashioned way of doing things, man. It's great. That's great. And we'll have a link in there, dirtyrockersoapco.com.
That's right. Yep.
So we'll definitely put a link in the description here. You've done it all, man. It seems, I look back, and you've had million sellers, and you've had #1 albums, and I mean, just played to hundreds of thousands of people, and played to a few people in bars. You've done it all. Ever think about writing a story down? A book. Everybody's writing a book. Is that something you might consider?
Yeah, I've started work and stopped and started again with my friend Roger Lotring, and we've putting stuff together, and he's always nudging me. He's like, we're not getting any younger, man. He goes, let's get this thing done. It's just one of those things where you think you have time for it, and then next thing you know, you don't have time to sit there and just tell stories. But I've totally thought about it, and I've been asked by a couple people to put one out. So
cool.
Eventually.
Yeah, you gotta have great stories, man.
Yeah, and that's all it would be. It's just memoirs, fun ones. No shit talking or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's as a fan, I don't know. I love the autobiographies, and but I love the parts where I get to do the, I get to be on Fly on the Wall. I get to hear some cool stories
Yeah.
I wouldn't be involved in,
Right.
because of the lifestyle and stuff. That's
Yeah.
great, man. I know you got a full schedule today. Respect your time. I got one more for you. What's the top of the bucket list, man? You've, like I said, you've seen so much, you've done a lot of things. Is there something in your life that you want to do, either professionally or personally, but you haven't had a chance yet?
Madison Square Garden.
Really? You guys haven't played Madison Square Garden, huh?
Never played. We were supposed to
Really?
on a couple tours, and then the basketball playoffs took precedent.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. Nope.
Oh my God.
And then
Huge.
we were asked to play it like when was it? Was it not this year? Maybe the year before. And we were asked to play it on the same day that we already had a gig, and we didn't want to screw the promoter over. So we did the manly thing.
Good for you, though. Good for you.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. That's that goes a long way for sure. Oh man, that's gonna happen. I mean, we know that's gonna happen for sure.
Got to. It's got to.
Maybe I'll get in a plane ticket for that one. I'm in Chicago here, so it's a little ways, but I'd love to see that, man. I'd love to be there for that one for sure. Hey, Rachel, thank you, man. This has been
thank you, brother.
True for me, man.
That's awesome.
I appreciate you, man.
You got it, bro.
Yeah, and look forward to the album. It's where the gang's all here. It's coming out on October 14th, and that's right around the corner, man.
Right around there, man. Can't wait.
So many great things happening, man. Rachel, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
All right, I'll see you.
All right, bye.